All right, in today's episode, we sit down with Captain Tony and Captain Austin from Marine Rescue CDA. They are the guys that will come save you when your boat breaks down on the lake. They just did a cool salvage of a burned boat. We're going to talk about that one. Lots of great information. Let's go. All right, welcome to the North Idaho Experience, a podcast for the people in North Idaho and those who are North Idaho curious. These are the stories of those who choose to call North Idaho home. If you are thinking about making North Idaho your home, give our real estate team a call. We specialize in helping conservative families find their freedom in North Idaho. So today, I'm pretty excited about this one. We've got Austin and Tony from Marine Rescue CDA. We've been talking about putting this together for a while. You guys are busy.
Yeah, we are.
You just had a salvage this weekend.
Yeah.
I saw it in the news and I was like, oh, we got to talk about that.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was there. Okay, it wasn't my boat. All right. It wasn't me. My boat was not on fire, but I was there. I was like, sweet, this is good timing. So, I feel bad for those people, but they kind of set up our show nice.
They did, right? I mean, it gives us a great talking point right out the gate. So what was that one all about? How does the boat catch on fire?
Well, that's yet to be determined.
Okay.
But, it happened relatively quickly. The story I got was that he had just launched the boat from Higgins Point and was heading over to Silver Beach, and he noticed smoke in the engine compartment. So he went back to address it, and the smoke increased. So he took a fire extinguisher and tried to contain it, and that didn't work. So as the fire spread, he decided to evacuate the boat, wave down a boater that was on the water close to his proximity, thank goodness. And they got off the boat, and the flames just spread, and it took the whole boat down to the water line. Coeur d'Alene Fire came out with their fireboat.
So they have that cool little firehouse, which I'm super jealous of, by the buoy.
Yeah.
So they actually got to use it.
Yes, that's relatively new.
Firefighters doing stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
We talk a lot of smack about, because Dave, our other partner, was a fire captain. That's all his gear right there. So, and we're both former cops. So we talk a lot of smack about firefighters, but
of course,
natural.
Yeah. But we do love them still.
Yeah. I'm kind of on their side.
Yeah.
I built their first fireboat with them.
Fireboat 3999.
Oh, cool.
399.
And built a relationship with them at that point. And in the grand scheme of things, they were hoping they'd get a nicer fireboat and a station down there, which ultimately came to be.
Yeah.
And, that boat did exactly what it was designed to do. It got that boat under control, and they did a great job. They had great hazmat control. They did everything right, and
that's right, because you've got oil, you've got gas leaking into the lakes. You've got to contain that as well.
Exactly.
So you don't just show up and look cool and put fires out. You got to do other stuff.
They have to stay on scene and make sure everything is under control. And
do you know how quick they were able to get out there?
I don't know exactly what their timeline was, but it was pretty quick.
Because do they keep that? I'm guessing they don't keep that firehouse staffed all the time. They probably have to respond from one of the stations downtown.
Yeah.
And jump in the boat.
Yeah, probably from the main
fire
station.
2 or something, maybe.
Yeah. I think it was 4 on that one.
4?
Yeah.
Okay, so they haul ass down there, jump in their boat, and tear across the lake. That's a pretty good hike from downtown, too.
So they have a monitor on that boat, and they can keep a safe distance and drop water on it, and that's exactly what they did. And there's actually some very nice pictures of them doing that.
Cool.
There's pre-fire pictures of the boat, just lots of plumes of smoke
engulfed,
and then them extinguishing it. So they did a great job, and nobody likes to see something like that happen.
No, it sucks. Yeah. Any idea how many occupants there were on the boat?
I think there was 2.
Well, that's why we have insurance, right?
Right.
Hopefully. That's what insurance is for.
Hopefully, yeah. So what was your role in that? And did you guys get out there while it was still active?
No, they contained it, and then they tried to tow it to Higgins Point, but then things went awry, and it sank on them. So they towed it to a point where they could get it to where we could recover it.
Okay.
And then we got a call saying, "Hey, can you come get this and recover it?"
Okay. What's that look like when you guys get that call?
Well, we try to be ready to respond on any of these things 24/7. Hazmat containment usually is the biggest issue when you go to any of these salvages. I mean, even if they sink at the dock, if there's a sheen on the water, it's an environmental issue, and everybody wants to see that contained, ASAP.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
Fire department had laid out a good amount of boomage, and that was good because there was a significant amount of fuel that was leaking out of the boat. And you've got residents, the lakeside residents, they don't want to see that in their front yard, so
Right.
We do carry boomage and hazmat containment as well, but if needed. So if we're the first ones on scene, we can contain it.
Okay. So when a boat is sinking, or how deep did that one sink before you guys got there?
well, fortunately it sank in about 30 feet of water.
Okay.
Nice.
And that's diveable. It gets a lot more complex. Like if it had ended up in 100 feet of water, it would have complicated things. You're a diver, right? So you know that you have limited bottom time and decompression that you have to go through, and that'll lengthen the time of things, and then getting it up can be a bigger issue. But this one went real smooth. So
So 30 feet of water, somebody dove down.
Yep.
One of you guys?
We had two divers.
Okay.
We had on call. They're certified.
Okay.
Darren Prouty from Precision Propeller. He owns Precision Marine Salvage as well. We work in tandem together.
Okay.
But he used to be a Spokane Sheriff rescue diver as well.
Nice.
So he worked with those guys for a while.
Okay. Cool. So he'll dive down, and then how do you guys get it back up?
Well, every salvage is different. So getting it off the bottom is the first thing. And if you put an airbag on the boat and you start to add air to it, it can come up pretty quick potentially. And, you want to bring it up as slow as you can. You want to put a little bit of air into time. And this one ended up upside down on the bottom. So we knew we'd have to right it once we got it up. But the divers, they're real pros. So they got a bag on the front and one on the back, and they brought it up. And as I said, it was upside down. So then we righted it, and got it to the shoreline so we could actually put more bags on it. The hull was compromised to the degree that, we'd have to put an entire airbag skirt around it and kind of make a floating boat, to be able to tow it.
Then what do you do with it?
It depends. Every situation's different, but this one we were able to get it on the trailer, the original trailer. Sometimes you have to get them on a flatbed trailer, worst case scenario.
Right.
They're too damaged and far gone, but we were able to get it on the trailer successfully, and then we transported it to storage.
Okay.
Right, the fire. The investigation is still going on. The inspectors want to see it, and of course, the insurance adjuster is going to come out at some point and do their thing. There was a potential that the boat would need to be cut up on shore and maybe taken up the hillside and put into a dump truck or something along those lines, or a backhoe. The engine being the heaviest component.
Right.
But fortunately, it didn't have to go to that degree. Again, the complexity of the situation, just depends on.
Yeah.
It's constantly evolving.
Right. In the level of damage, if the hull's compromised to the point that the engine's just going to fall through, you can't trailer it.
Exactly.
You just take it out in pieces.
Boat can break in half.
Right.
So you gotta check all that stuff out.
When you get those marine fires, what do you find is the most common cause?
Well, we've seen boats explode while fueling, which you hear about. And, boats have their ventilation. Boats. You turn the blower on, as they say, or open the engine compartment, and that doesn't always happen. And you see footage around the country or from YouTube and stuff. Big boats, down in Florida, and they'll just blow up right at the fuel pier. And that's happened a couple of times here. Not as catastrophic as they could be, but it creates a fire. Usually fire responds to that. If it isn't put under control by the people at the fuel pier, with an extinguisher or something. But that I don't think that was the case in this boat. I think it was probably an overheat. I mean, I don't like to speculate because I'm not the fire investigator or the insurance adjuster. So, I can only guess, but it might have been an overheat.
Yeah. Okay. How'd you guys get into this line of work, and how long you been doing it?
I've been doing.
Do you have a military background? Navy?
I do not.
No. Okay.
I work as a federal defense contractor for the Navy.
Okay.
Right now, and I've been doing that for about 10 years. But I got into it because I always loved boats. And my dream when I was younger was that I'd like to get a sailboat, learn everything about boats and engines, and then sail around the world, romantically, But life can throw you some curveballs. That didn't end up happening. I did get a sailboat, and I did live on it for a while. And while I was doing that, I noticed the local towing and salvage company seemed to need some help. And I think one of the biggest prerequisites is that you don't get seasick. So
that was here in Coeur d'Alene?
No, this is a stint I did off the Northern California coast. So it's a pretty rugged piece of water there.
Where at?
So we covered between Morro Bay and the Golden Gate Bridge on the Northern California coastline. So it's pretty rugged, the Big Sur coastline, and there's no place to pull over.
Beautiful out there, though.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah. Too bad it's in California.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have something to say about that. But, it's challenging work. And out there, things can be a little more life and death. So when somebody needs help, they're 120 miles offshore. So somebody has to get them.
Is that a role that traditionally the Coast Guard would do, or do they not? Once life is preserved, does the Coast Guard step back and they don't deal with the salvage?
Well, ever since 9/11, Homeland Security and the Coast Guard had decided to focus their efforts on national security. And because of 9/11, they wanted to protect bridges and, anti-terrorism roles. So at that point in the industry, they were handing off this to the private sector. And because of that, we were kind of in a paramilitary role, you might want to say, but they would direct us to do these recoveries, any hazard to navigation. If there was a medical emergency, they'd usually send a helicopter out and try to evac the casualty, but they'd still charge us with the vessel. So we worked very closely with them. They had me on speed dial. And usually when we had real bad weather, real bad storms, I knew the phone was going to ring. And kind of, I don't mean to boast, but failure wasn't an option out there. I mean, you had to go.
Right.
And
what years were you out there?
I would say between 2001 and 2011. So
Did you ever bump into the CHP's boats they had out there?
I never saw a CHP boat out there.
I was a CHP officer back then, and they had two. They were like rigid inflatable hull boats, and they were super sexy looking. And they got them after 9/11, and there was two of them. But I don't know who ever got to ride on the boats or do whatever. But I know they were in around the Golden Gate Bridge.
If your registration was expired, you
Homeland
would run
Security.
into
Yeah, exactly.
Homeland Security /fishing.
Yeah, what a freaking sweet job. Yeah. You're not doing anything out there. Come on.
I'll tell you though, man, like being on the water all summer long, because I did that. I was a Marine deputy with Kootenai County and it sounds really awesome, but you are like the fun police. Like everybody goes out there to relax and have a good time. It's fun, but it loses its luster after a couple of weeks. You're just in a vest.
Can you get in the water? Can you take a dip?
Oh, I would accidentally fall in.
Whoops.
That was definitely a thing.
Yeah,
just happened to take my vest off first. But
get hot and you're out there just watching everybody have fun.
It's on an aluminum hulled boat, dude. It's hot.
I always wanted to hook somebody for BUI though, man. That was like a big one for me. Even hooking deuces was my favorite thing to do.
Yes,
that would be cool. I know you're ruining everybody's good time.
Yes,
but it's just
sometimes
to say
they gotta
I
come
did
in.
it. Just to say.
Well, it keeps these guys from having to come out too often if you actually stay in front of it, because so many of those wrecks and crashes are alcohol related. And I mean, you guys could attest better than we could, but it seems like those have reduced in the last 10 years as far as the collisions and the big impactful crashes that result in fatalities.
Yeah, it's in previous years here there was some bad ones, and It was probably alcohol related, and it's a big issue, that speed, and people drive boats differently. It's kind of a toy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, let's be real. I mean, it's getting more and more crowded out here
Yeah.
every year. I go out. There's some weekends I won't even want to go out.
A lot of locals don't go
so
out on the
busy.
weekends. They won't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets too insane. Some people will just avoid Lake Coeur altogether.
Right.
Because it's just too insane out there.
You see 30 boat raft ups in Blue Creek Bay or Beauty Bay, and those are both great bays because they're protected from the wind. So even if it's choppy in the channel, it's nice on that side of the lake.
That's the fun part.
Yeah.
It's getting back onto your trailer at the launch ramp.
I'm not.
No, that's fun to watch.
People watch.
More divorces happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. That is one of my favorite things is just to watch people launch or try to recover their boats.
Oh my gosh. How long have you guys been operating on Coeur d'Alene?
14 years now.
Oh shoot. Okay. That's a long time. Yeah.
We're passionate about it. And of course, initially we were, kind of doing it out of that passion. We spent money to go out there and help people.
Right.
It wasn't making us a bunch of money, but it might keep the boat fueled and, some upkeep on it. But we realized, as word got out that we're there to do it and people knew that they could count on us to do it, we figured, we've got to evolve this into something where, there can be some payroll involved as opposed to just, upkeeping the boat. So that's where we're going. That's where we've been going for a few years now. And it's been working out real good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
Yeah. I imagine, there's probably a fair amount of work for you guys out there with how many boats are on there.
It's gotten a little bit more as as the years have gone by with all the more boaters that are coming on the lake.
Yeah. Do you guys have just one boat that you're out there with, or do you have multiple?
We have one that stays in the water 24/7, ready to respond, and that boat's purpose built. It's got everything that type of response boat would need. We have a secondary boat that we can use as we pick and choose, to do different operations on Coeur d'Alene or neighboring waterways.
Yeah.
Or salvage or whatever, because we usually like to keep a boat available for other calls if we're doing a salvage. So if one of us needs to break off and go do a tow, we can do it.
Do you guys just operate on Coeur d'Alene Lake, or do you go Hayden or Ponderay?
For towing, we mainly try to stay on Lake Coeur d'Alene, but I mean, we on a case-by-case basis, we can go to different lakes.
I was gonna say if it's a big op or gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest issue with having multiple boats and multiple waterways is that each boat has to have a licensed captain, and that captain has to have the proper training and endorsements to do that work. And response time is a big thing. So their proximity to the water and the boat and how fast they can get out to somebody in distress is one of the biggest things. So it's hard to just pop them up, wherever. But, if you have one ready to go and you're a few minutes away from the boat, we try to get off, lines off the dock within 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I feel like I see your boat everywhere. I just saw it. I was out on the boat the other day. Where did I see it? It was either at Silver Beach or at Hagedon over on Blackwell.
Yeah, we do some work with them. We tow their customers on occasion.
Okay.
I was at Higgins Point on Saturday, so I saw you guys the entire day. I think when we got on the boat and then when we got off the boat, you guys were still there on a different one.
Yeah, 'tis the season.
Yeah, so. A lot of people bringing you business. I imagine that first launch of the year for most people, so like Mother's Day or Labor Day weekend or whatever, when they're first getting it out, and if they didn't, do all the preparation, either a lot of, how often is it just the plug?
Oh my gosh, that's my worst nightmare. I triple check that thing.
It happens. It happens more frequently than you think.
I believe that, and I think it happens quite a bit, and it probably happens even more than that.
That'd be very embarrassing to admit.
We just had one like a week ago, and I'm not gonna shame anybody or say any names or anything along those. But they forgot the plug, and it sank.
Oh, like fully.
Well, it was a salvage.
Right.
It sank at the dock.
Got it.
So.
Oh, that sucks. What is what's the deepest salvage you guys have had?
Up here, the lake's only so deep.
Right.
Nothing that was, Darren has done some deeper salvages. As far as what we've done on Coeur d'Alene, usually 40 feet of water.
Okay.
Darren's done some stuff that's in the 100 plus.
Right. Does he, I imagine that's a question for him, but if he rocks like nitrox or trigas or something like that, that'll get him deep.
Yeah, he has some equipment. We have, all the dive tanks and all the gear for that.
Right.
So
Is there a certain depth where you just leave it?
That depends on, different agencies that manage the lake. There was the fire in Spokane, Liberty Lake, correct?
Lake. Oh, yeah, the one that I think it was last summer.
Yeah, there was a lot of boats that were lost in that one. And some were, in the 100 plus, and they just made the decision they're just going to leave them there.
Yeah.
Right.
I just relate to that. When I worked as a CHP officer up in a very mountainous region, and we had, we'd get cars that would roll down these ravines. I had one time that it rolled 600 feet down.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Double fatal. It's like you can't recover that.
Right.
You can fly it out, but is it worth? Who's going to pay for that?
Yeah,
so they just leave them, and then you'd paint a big X on the roof because people would always see them and call them in. And,
right.
And then we'd have to go out there, or the helicopter would fly it, and you got to get your binoculars out. I'm like, okay,
right.
That's that one from last year. Somebody's got to go down there and paint an X out, and again, it wore off. And dealing with that kind of shit is like, dude. So I was wondering, like Ponderay, I'm sure it's so deep.
We do some stuff up there on occasion.
Just leave them.
Yeah, Ponderay's pretty much an
Loch Ness or whoever lives up in that thing.
When I'm diving 1,000 feet,
Megalodon.
Right.
Man, I'd imagine it's probably changed the game a little bit, or you guys could tell me if you see it in the industry, just the unmanned stuff, like an unmanned underwater drone type of thing. I'm sure that if it's not readily available yet, it's probably going to be.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is going that way. There's a lot of research being done on it. Occasionally you might see something like that out there. But they've got crew boats now that are going out to wind farms that are autonomous, and they're really working on the technology is incredible.
Yeah.
They do what they are built to do.
Yeah, well, you don't risk a diver, right? Anytime you're talking about, and I'm sure that's the logic behind, hey, we're not going to attempt a recovery past 150 feet. Right, you're getting into 5 atmospheres at that point. We're not going. It's not worth risking the diver. Yeah.
Right.
For a scrap.
Yes.
Just I guess for a hazmat cleanup, really at that point, because you don't want to leave it down there because it's going to leak oil and all of that.
Yeah, it's risk on the divers because they have to be diving in all the oil and gas if there's a gas leak.
And I'm guessing it's dark down that deep, right? Even though the water's clear, it's probably pretty dark, right? Eric, you can probably attest to that. You've been down there.
Yeah. You get down below 60, 70 feet, it gets really dark really fast.
Yeah.
We did that with cars, where you're in there and there's gas and oil and it sucks. And sometimes it'd wreck our dry suits. Then you have to go back and get new gear.
Yeah, but you're cops. Nobody gives a shit about us, right?
That's true.
You'll be fine.
Somebody's paying for it.
I was a firefighter.
Take it out of
oh man.
Take it out of my paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. Lucrative living. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. What does your boat have? Like, do you have any special features on it that you can talk about, that you want to talk about, that allow it to do what you do?
We picked this boat because of its design, and we like it. It has a walk-around hull and a center console and a cuddy cabin, so you can get around that to position lines when you're hip tying boats coming up. We come alongside of people quite a bit, so we deliver fuel to them, or we'll get them a jump start, or we'll put them into tow, and because the way the boat, we kind of did it with what we wanted to do, we put on the boat. So it's got a lot of cleats on the sides. It has a very strong tow post that you can, tow, 40-foot vessels with, and it'll, take that. It's got a nice cuddy cabin that we can store our water evacuation pumps, our hazmat control, extra gear. We've got a navigation suite. We've got sophisticated sonar, side scan sonar for the different salvages, radar, plotting. Heck, we can even get the stereo through it.
Yeah, there we go. Good.
Yeah.
Does it have Bluetooth?
Yes, it does. It has all the fancy features. We wanted to make sure we were comfortable, And sometimes you're just towing somebody for 3-4 hours, especially if you're going down the Coeur d'Alene River. Like we've done that numerous times where someone breaks down in the middle of the night on the lake.
Oh, way down there.
I remember you guys coming out on the 4th of July where somebody'd sunk out their boat with like 20 people in a freaking Axis or something, like a $85,000, $90,000 boat, and just flooded it out. So you got boats it got hairy.
Oh,
just because there's so much traffic coming down after the 4th.
Yeah. I think on the 4th of July you could probably walk across the lake by stepping
with all
boat
the
to
boats
boat.
out there.
I don't even go, and yeah.
When I was a kid, we used to go out there all the time. It was awesome.
That would be cool.
You just poke around the point and you watch the fireworks and you can go back. But then it's just this rat race at the end of it. Now
It's not worth it for me. And my boat's in a slip. I don't even have to trailer it, but it's still risky. I feel like the amount of drunk boaters out there, it's not worth it to me.
I'm absolutely amazed at how fast those boats actually get off the lake after the fireworks. They just kind of scattered like cockroaches and they're like gone.
It's like a bar when a bar closes. It's the same concept. All right, everybody's been drinking. They're like, all right, let me get out here real quick.
You want to see it go even faster? Just throw some red and blue lights out on there, dude. That'll go real fast.
Right. We used to kind of help with the security perimeter, away from the fireworks barge, to kind of, shuffle people back. We kind of backed off of that a little bit. Sheriff's Department's got some new boats now, and they kind of have that covered. But I do remember one year where we were out there after the 4th of July, and after the fireworks, I should say, and a cabin cruiser was just kind of cruising towards us, and we were actually engine off. I think we were anchored, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, we got to light the boat up in a big way. Like we turned on our 360s and the floodlights and the horn and everything else we could possibly do to make ourselves visible. And this boat did not deviate course. I don't even think anybody was even at the helm. I think they're probably down below making a cocktail or something.
Yeah.
And we literally pushed them off by hand as it passed at about 10 miles per hour. I mean, they never even saw us.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was kind of sketchy.
See? That's pretty sketchy.
That's why there's deputies on the water.
Yeah, that dude, there. Throw a flashbang up in there.
Yeah, that'll wake them up. Yeah, that'll do it.
Oh my gosh, what's the most unique rescue or salvage you guys have done? Like, does one stick out in your mind that was pretty cool?
They're typically smaller boats here. We've done, last winter? There was a nice cabin cruiser
on Lake Ponderay.
On Ponderay, it was a wooden boat. A nice one. Yeah,
that's sad.
And because of the freezing temperatures, it was in the water, and something broke. I think it was a sea strainer had cracked, and it was in the process of going down.
Right.
And we got the call, and I think it was the coldest night.
Yeah, it was like
in the winter.
20.
I remember that. I remember those days.
Yeah,
that sucks.
It was when all those restaurants and everything, all their pipes were cracking.
Yep.
Not this last winter, but the winter before that. It was nuts.
Our diver, during the season, he's like all ready to go. And I think, he kind of snowbird, so he was probably down in Havasu or something like that. And so there's 1.5 feet of snow on the docks and, just bitter cold. And we went down there and we're trying to get pumps in this thing. And, it's icing up already inside the boat as well. It's like a block of ice. But we did successfully evacuate the water and get it up, found out where the leak was all that evening. I even impressed myself because I was just freezing my butt off.
Don't work anymore.
Yeah, and you're dealing with water and everything is icy. But yeah, we did save it. So
nice.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
Yeah, it was an interesting night for sure.
What's the most common call that you get?
For us, when a person's boat stalls out and they just die in the lake, they're just out there having fun.
Yeah,
that's what everybody wants to do. We want to make it a pleasurable experience, not a bad one. So, a big part of our work is to go out there and we have snacks for the kids, water, whatever it takes. Do you
have any beer?
Yeah. Adult
Just
kids.
asking.
Yeah.
Well, we make a joke. We call ourselves the Marine Crisis Unit. So if they're out of beer, we're the
we'll
crisis
bring
unit.
some
Yeah,
out
that's
there
a
for
crisis.
pizza.
That can be.
Right. Yeah, but it's tows and fuel deliveries and jump starts. It's the typical stuff that will shut your day down.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, we'll try to jump start you if it doesn't jump, and we'll get you back to your trailer wherever that might be. On the lake, people launch in different areas. If you want to get to a service center, we'll tow you right into the service center. So we coordinate with whatever it takes to make your day end happy.
Well, I'd also venture to guess that a lot of it's just education, because you get a lot of people that buy a boat and have no idea how to operate it or how the systems work, and some of it's probably what you need to do here is.
Sometimes it's not even like they have their boat in gear when they try to start it again, and it's not in neutral.
Right.
So we've run into that numerous times too.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
You see your kill switch? Your kill switch right here?
Is your kill switch on?
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
You're welcome for our service.
We try to do that on the phone. So
Yeah, we
it's
try to
like,
do that over the phone. We don't usually go out
the
there.
basics.
they call and
We
say,
call the
hey,
basics.
it was running great. We stopped, and now it won't start. It's like, well, is it a neutral? And they're like, hang on. And it's like, oh yeah, that's it.
Well, there's not a lot of talk about that. There's no licensing requirements for a boat, right? Like you don't have to go get a.
On Idaho, no.
Yeah, in Idaho, there's none, so you can go buy it and then hit the water. And if you're rocking like a twin engine houseboat, you're not going to be able to run that thing. You don't just flat out don't have the experience.
Yeah, and based on our previous careers, there's a lot of dumbass people out there. Let's be honest. And I know you guys. That's me saying that, not you guys. You have a business to run, but I'm saying that. And so you're going to run into that kind of stuff out there for sure.
Right.
Just and kids.
And kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no shame in that. Like I said, it's a toy.
Yeah.
It's like an ATV. There is a Idaho boating education course you can take and get certified. There's Coast Guard training. You can get certified. In Washington State now, you need a boater's license.
Right. Actually, I'll give them a plug. Kootenai County runs that boat safety course, correct? That's the one you're talking about?
I think it's...
Well, I know that Coast Guard Auxiliary does it too, and I think different agencies do it. I think the Kootenai County does it too. Yeah,
Right.
Highly recommend it, especially if you're going to have your teenage kids operating your vessel. Send them through that course. It's really good. I think it gives you some rudimentary, basic, fundamental knowledge of the systems that are required to make a boat operational and run, and it just gives you the rules of the water, just typical rules of the water.
And that's a good point, because what a lot of people don't realize is that there are rules. Of the road. They call them rules of the road, and it's similar to an automobile. So you stay to the right, and you pass in a certain thing when you're overtaking a vessel. So there are rules, and a lot of people wonder, why does my boat have a green light and a red light on one side? And of course that at nighttime is to identify what you're looking at from a distance. So a simple way to remember that is, if you see a red light, it's just like a stoplight. That means that you do not have the right of way. And if you see a green light, that means, green light, go. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at their right side of the boat. Now, I wouldn't hold people to, knowing what those rules are. So if you see a green light and you're just assuming I have right of way, doesn't mean the other boat is going to realize that they're supposed to yield to you.
Right.
So there are rules that people should kind of educate themselves on.
Well, big ones like when I was on Marine Patrol, man, if a vessel is under tow, or they have a tuber, or they have a wakeboarder or a surfer, that thing's ability to maneuver is significantly impeded. They have the right of way. Mm-hmm. Everybody else got to, move around that.
Yeah.
Or jet skiers jumping waves.
Jet skis don't get shit. They have zero right away, in my opinion. This is my opinion.
Yes. You want to piss me off really fast? Jump waves behind my kid's tubing. I'll lose my mother effing mind.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just the basic fundamental stuff. And I do think there should at least be, a dayline, even if it's online, understanding the basics of the water so that people can operate safely, I think would.
Right. You definitely don't want to cross the tow line.
Yeah,
no. I've seen that before.
We try to light up everything. We try to follow the rules, and like we have amber tow lights. We have our 360s. We try to keep people away.
Yeah,
but there are people that just don't. They're not considerate. They don't care.
Right.
They just
keep
yield.
going. You have those wakeboarding boats that just fly by you and wake you out.
Oh yeah.
So it is frustrating.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can cause tension on the line or something. Or,
Right.
It's just being courteous.
courteous.
I have an odd question. Is there a particular brand of boat that you find you get calls for more?
That might get me into trouble if I answer that question.
Which means yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you guys sit there and take bets? You're like, all right, buddy, when you want to bet it's one of these?
There are some brands that characteristically we do see them having more failures.
Is it a Yamaha? Because I have a Yamaha. It's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm just
Okay,
curious.
it's a Yamaha.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
I've got my guess. I'll wait till after the show, dude.
In all fairness, I think there's all boats break down, and it isn't necessarily the owner's lack of education or any lack of this or that. New boats break down just as much as used boats, old boats. It's just hard to predict, you know, and no one manufacturer has more, I mean, you've heard of Friday cars, and sometimes there's Friday boats, I suppose, but, and then parts, just as in any vehicle, they can fail at any time. A sense, boats are more sophisticated than ever now. So they even have catalytic converters and whatnot. So an O2 sensor can fail and it can shut the boat down.
Right.
Do tweakers steal catalytic converters from boats too?
Oh, yeah. They're
Probably in the right market, but
that a
probably
thing?
in Florida. That's
Yeah.
why it happens a lot.
I hope I didn't
Yeah.
just give somebody an idea.
Yeah.
I have a Yamaha dual engine.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's actually cool. I can turn that thing like on a
No,
dime, which is
they
kinda
are
neat.
cool boats.
Yeah.
And I think I read in the manual that if one of the engines is down, you have to do something to it before you tow it. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah. People don't realize this. And, that's why, when your boat needs to be towed, there's Good Samaritans that, a lot of people wave down
Right.
and they get a tow. But, we prefer that you leave it to the professionals because there's a number of issues that can come up towing boats, one being that, you have to be able to secure that boat to the dock and you've kind of taken liability on it as you do it. And when you tow a jet ski, people just assume, oh, well, you can tow a boat as fast as your throttle will let you. But on jet skis and jet boats, it'll suck water in the intake and bring it into the engine. So, yeah.
That's it. Okay. So
Right.
there's something you have to clamp off, I read in the manual.
Correct.
Or just call you guys.
Or just tow it slow.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it doesn't inject the water into the engine. But yeah, preferably you would, shut that valve if you have access to it. We'll try to do that when we come up to you. We don't expect the owner to know, his way around the engine.
Yeah. I imagine that's happened more than once where you have to go rescue the rescuer. Because if they aren't prepared either, another thing, towing a boat, you have to be ready to cast that thing, right? You have to be ready to get rid of it if things go really, really poorly. Otherwise, you just create another casualty.
Yeah.
Right. It's very possible to cause chaos when you're doing this. And that's why we say, most tows end up being free. Okay. Yeah. So there's no reason not to call us, right? Why call a friend, have them burn a bunch of gas at $5, $6, $7 a gallon to try to tow you in and then get back to where they were, launch a boat when, typically, all these tows are free to the boat owner anyway. Right. So
How's that work? Who pays it?
Well, most boat insurance companies will
So you guys are
have
billing
a
insurance. Okay.
well, yeah, right. They'll have a clause in your policy that will give you X for commercial marine assistance.
Got it.
The degree of that coverage is up to the boat owner to make that decision. Usually they'll throw it in like AAA. You need to renew every year, right? They send you a notice, and it's like, okay, do I want AAA? And everybody has it for their car, right? So they don't think about it on their boat. So the insurance companies typically will put something in there for that unexpected event. Is it enough? Typically not. We encourage people to get the additional coverage, particularly on Lake Coeur, because everybody likes to go down to Harrison, right?
Yeah.
And
Go down to One Shot Charlie's down in Harrison.
right.
Yeah.
There you go. And they get back, their boat won't start, but they came out of Coeur d'Alene. So that ends up being kind of a longer tow, and we want to make sure that it's for free. So there's different ways of doing that, and we can probably talk about, I want to circle back for a second. We were saying, what's the issue with people towing, and trying to get it to the thing. And we had an example the other day, the fire day, where I saw a Good Samaritan, which is nothing wrong with that. It was towing in another boat. And at 5 o'clock at Higgins Point, there's a queue, right? Yep. I mean, there's a line. And people are kind of bloodthirsty. They get angry about it. So some people will just ignore the queue and zip right in like we're next, right? And there was some boats there that it's like they're parked and unattended at the ramp. And, that's okay if you're running up the hill to get your trailer, right? This is expected. But if you're gone for like 45 minutes to an hour, it's like, well, did you go down to Tony's and for dinner or something like that? And your boat's sitting here and like people are waiting. So we saw this Good Samaritan bringing in this boat, and they had a long tow line on it. And they just, went right through the crowd as, like, well, we're just going to get these people to the launch ramp. They're broken down and we'll get on our way. Well, I don't think they anticipated that you're not going to be able to pull that boat up to the ramp. There's just too many boats in the queue. There's nothing left to get them to.
Right.
So then they got in the position where they had this long line out. They're close to shore. They're trying to maneuver. Boats are crowding them. And it turned into a real mess. And I'm standing by going, I'll take the tow, anytime you want, I'll just take that line from you and I'll get out here and we'll hover and wait for it to clear out a little bit and we'll bring it in. And no, they wanted to be independent. So they almost went aground twice. There's a lot of rocks there. And, the line, they had to take it off the boat. And then they were scurrying around trying to get in position. Meanwhile, the boat's getting...
Yeah, it was choppy that day, too. Yeah. That part of the lake, it was choppy.
Yeah. So, we've had ones where they're trying to bring it in to the public ranch on 3rd Street. And the cruise boats come in and out of there.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know how many times, we just happen to be on scene where a boat's broken down and the cruise boats can't stop. They're like a train, right? So, we've had to grab these boats real fast and, get them out of the way,
Oh my gosh. That's wild. Do you guys have, I think you guys have like a membership program?
We do.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
It's kind of like an insurance policy. We try to, it supports us locally. I mean, I know you do have your boat insurance, but this kind of supports us and gives you coverage. We do have no tow zones that we will facilitate anyway, outside of the membership, but we are restricted on some areas because of like back in Kidd Island Bay, it gets really grassy. So we try not to compromise the towboat. If it gets really dicey, it's usually up to captain's call at that point. But do you have anything you want to say about that?
Well, like it does support the towboat, which is important. It's not a given that a towboat will be here. As I said, we kind of did that at the goodness of our heart and took our own money to do it. But realistically, we'd just like people to do what the national industry standard is and just get your boat covered, one way or another.
Yeah.
We're the authorized towboat for Progressive and Good Sam and Travelers. And if you're a boater that has that policy, everything's free. A lot of boaters don't realize that you've got coverage. It's like asking a friend to tow your car when you've got AAA. Why would you do it? It's like if you've got the coverage, use it. It doesn't ding your insurance policy at all. It's just a free service that you will get. They'll dispatch us. We have a dispatch center in Florida, Compass Marine Dispatch. We're the authorized towboat for those different companies.
It's also Sign and Glide too.
Sign and Glide.
It's another membership program that you can get covered.
So whether it's us or not, have the coverage. We work with different marinas. I'm not going to name names because I don't know if they want us to say anything.
Sure.
But the marinas will cover everybody that's in the marina with us.
Cool. Okay.
So
it's like part of the boat slip.
Yeah.
Part of the boat slip thing. And, that just makes it real easy because if you're out of X, you're already covered.
Yeah.
So that have our number. We try to get as much information out as possible to everybody. And, then you're going to have a fast response, professional captains doing this that are insured, to do this service, and they're going to get back where you need to go, whether it's back to the slip or your trailer, safely and professionally, and I've been doing it for 25 years. I've never had an incident. So I've never had something go awry. Maybe I'm just lucky, but we try to get the job done right.
Yeah. How do people get a hold of you if they're out on the water? Just call. You have a number.
We have a number. Okay. We have our cell phone numbers. We have our office number. You can call us on social media if that's the worst or easiest thing you can do. We got email. But yeah, our phone number is 208-930-0200.
Okay. We'll put it in the show notes too, so people can grab it.
I'm giving it the hand signal. Tap the table, it comes through the mic.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Don't tap the table.
It's all good.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. So yeah, if people are out on the water and they break down or whatever, call that number and you guys will come rescue.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we are 24/7, so boats manned. Mm-hmm. There may be an extreme that, for some reason, we're human.
You're allowed to have a day off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we're not, and that's one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah. There's times where you could be sitting down having a dinner, watching a movie, and you're like, oh, okay, we got a call.
Yeah.
So we got to go.
Yeah.
So
I know that lifestyle.
Yeah. So
you're tapping the table again. Your dad's going to beat
you up.
So what are the downsides to this industry?
That's probably one of the biggest downsides is that, during the season, we've asked for it, we committed to it, but, you need to be available.
Yeah.
So it's
can't
not
take
like
vacation in the
don't
summer.
go out of town,
right?
Right. Even going to see a movie, you might sit down, have the ticket spot, and, you get that call right then. You don't know when it's going to come in. So it could be in the middle of the night. If you're law enforcement or, fire personnel or something like that, you're on station 24/7.
Yeah.
Right.
One on, one off, for your shift. But for us as independents, we might get a call at midnight. We might get a call at 6 a.m. We just don't know when the calls will come in. You could go days without a call. Mm-hmm. You just don't know. Or you'll get 4 in one day, So it's just being ready to respond. Having the boat in, a constant state of readiness, everything, prepared for that situation.
Do you guys live pretty close to there?
Yes. Yeah, we're within 10-15 minutes of the boat.
Nice. So pretty quick response.
Where do you keep it? Do you have a full-time spot?
It's Lakeside Marina on the Spokane River.
Okay. Yep.
It's by KJ's.
Cool.
Do you guys have a pretty good relationship with another, or maybe you guys run it yourself, but like the Salvage company? Because the majority of these, it doesn't take much to total a boat, especially a modern one. If you run $100,000 wakeboard boat and it sinks, I imagine that thing's pretty well totaled out with all the computers and chips and stuff like that.
Yeah, most likely. Every insurance company is different. Every boat's different. Right. So, some insurance companies will just want to have it repaired. Right. It depends on the degree of the salvage. I'll give you for instance, someone bought, I don't like to mention boat manufacturer names because,
that's fair.
But there was a very expensive
wakeboarding boat
a
couple of years ago
that was their maiden voyage, I believe, and they were taking it out and they started taking on water.
Oh, man.
And I was, they don't expect you, and you're going, well, we got a lot of water. And wakeboarding boats nowadays, they've got all sorts
of... You bring water on purpose.
Yeah, you bring water on purpose.
Ballast them,
Right, in a lot of ways. So, those things can fail as well. Anyway, this boat started going down, and they said, well, can you get here? And I said, I got pumps. I'll get there. I'll probably see you in 15 minutes. But get it close to shore or get it to a dock if you can, right? So I was there in 15 minutes, and that boat was completely sunk. A brand new I'm going to guess it's probably $450,000.
Oh,
Jesus.
so some manufacturer defect. I'm guessing it wasn't the plug on that one.
It was a manufacturer defect, and kind of a weird one. One that you wouldn't normally see. It's just something.
Just a one-off.
It's a one-off.
Yeah.
But it took that boat down in just minutes.
Oh, that's gotta be stressful.
Yeah.
The guy owning it. I'm like, what did I do?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And some people around here, I mean, they don't flinch. I mean, things like this are just whatever it takes.
Part of life.
Right. Yeah.
So before we even had the boat to the service, he had bought a new one.
Really?
Yep.
That kind of. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Good for
So
him.
was that thing on the bottom sunk?
It would, yeah.
We got it to a dock.
Yeah.
But,
We got it to a dock.
But yeah, it sank at the dock
Right.
within 15 minutes.
Generally we'll try to lift them, and then we'll need to evacuate the water out of the boat.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have, one pump, 2 pumps, 3 pumps. Who knows what's to get the volume. Well, we had 3 pumps going full blast, and this wasn't going anywhere. So we knew that there was
That's a lot of water.
sticking on.
coming in.
Yeah, it was taking a lot of water.
So is that like a car where if it's sunk out to that point or it floods out at that, if it's completely flooded, is it totaled? They total it out at that point?
with the sophisticated electronics and
That's what I
catalytic
mean.
converters and stuff like that. Yeah, it ends up being. I mean, they probably salvage it.
Yeah.
They'll dry it out and sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see it.
I could just see some Russian guy hustling that thing.
I'm
somewhere.
already thinking hey,
It's good. It's okay. It's okay. That was very culturally insensitive. I'm sorry.
if you guys run into a deal like that, like $50,000 for that $450,000 boat, you let me know. I know a guy.
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
jump all
there
over
have
that.
been people that
Swap out some bins.
Steal the airbags out of it.
Yeah.
We try to do some sort of forensic analysis the best we can. Like is it obvious what sank the boat? Because the insurance companies want to know. It's
Yeah,
like,
of course.
what do you find? But there have been boats that have what you would call totaled, but the owner is say a mechanic of some sort, and it's like they'll buy it back from the insurance company and fix it up and run it. And they don't care if it's got some gremlins.
Yeah.
good to go.
Yeah.
Just like cars.
Yeah.
It's similar.
Exactly. Well, man, I think we hit a lot. So I'll put the information to contact you guys in the show notes, like I said, so people can figure out how to get a hold of you and put that number on speed dial if they're out on the water.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody expects their boat to break down.
Right.
I mean, it just happens.
It's gonna happen though.
And instead of scratching your head and going, "Oh, now what?" I'm just toward shore. Just give us a call. We'll be out there real quick. I mean, our boat's fast, and generally, even if we go down to Harrison, we can do it. I don't know, 30, 45 minutes. We'll be on scene. Generally, in the upper portion of the lake, we're there in less than a half hour.
Yeah, that gives people peace of mind. I think being out in the water and having that accessible. Cause
Yeah, I mean, we have a saying where it's like 5 minutes might seem like 5 hours in the water.
Yeah.
Right.
'Cause when you're broken down, you're like, I want to get home.
Yeah.
The kids are cranky,
Especially if you're taking on water.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. One more thing we did refit our boat this year with new stuff, new engine, new repower.
Oh, okay.
So
What's that look like? Just faster or more powerful?
more faster power, more torque.
Could you pull one of the cruise ships if you had to?
I think we could pull anything if we had to.
Yeah.
Right.
It just would be slow.
Slowing it down and stopping it might be a different story.
That's a good point. Yeah.
If something big like that, usually we have at least a second boat on hand. We could probably start towing it and getting it out of where it needed to go, but for it to go anywhere into a marina, we'd probably want a second boat.
If we're
to get
bringing a marina, we'll have a safety boat, behind it that's the brakes.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
right.
'Cause you got to be able to stop that thing. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and you got to know what you're doing. I mean, operating with 2 boats on a tow, you better be in sync and communicating.
Yeah,
It's
you got to have a lot of
not
teamwork.
easy. Yes.
Another thing is like a lot of people want to call 911 when they're
Right, but
broke down.
what's the sheriff department say if they call that? Like, do they come out and do anything?
Oh, a lot of times they'll refer it out.
Yeah,
Say,
they probably call
that's
you guys,
more-
right?
it's
Yeah,
more of a
unless
service.
there's a medical emergency, it's usually like,
No.
just call Marine Rescue Coeur.
Well, and we didn't like to do tows. I mean, there would be extenuating circumstances, depending on whatever. But number one, you guys have a business. You're pros. You're captains. All of that stuff, and we can't tie up a sheriff's boat all the time because they actually have to respond.
Well, you've got a job to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not that.
And
I got a law enforcement question, Eric. If someone gets hooked for BUI, I'm guessing you try to get someone else to drive the boat, but if that's not available, like, do you guys impound the boat? Is there a thing for that?
Yeah, we'll go hook it up to a nearby marina or dock. I mean, nice thing is these lakes are big, but usually you can go hitch those up and there's always 2 deputies, so sometimes that deputy would either take the other one in or whatever that is, and then go dock at a nearby marina. We've towed them before, if it's the middle of the night or whatever that is, hook them up if it's a couple minute trip, take them into the marina.
Strange.
Oh, it's wild.
That is wild. Well, thank you guys. I think this was really informative. I appreciate it. Austin and Tony from Marine Rescue CDA. Like I said, I'll put the phone number in the show notes if you guys need it. Do you guys have a website as well?
We do.
Are you on social media? I think you're on social media.
Yeah, we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We have our website. It's marinerescuecda.com.
Perfect.
Cool.
We'll include all of that so people know how to get a hold of you. I'm glad you guys are out there doing what you do. And I would definitely call you before I tried to have, Eric tow me in.
That's probably a smart decision. Well, way to take something you're passionate about and turn it into a business.
We are.
Yeah.
We were very passionate about it. We love doing it. It's, like you said, you got to take on the responsibility of being on call 24/7. But we like doing it, Otherwise, if we didn't like doing it, we probably wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. You're not stuck behind a desk, dude.
Right,
Every day is different.
You're out on the water all day.
Every day is different.
Cool.
That's cool.
Good stuff. Well, thank you guys.
Awesome. Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
you coming on.
Thank you.
Catch you next time.
Yep.